another bullet. Freedom or death. We gas ourselves up, but we short on breath. Talking about we eating, but who we really cooking. Dreaming about greens, but ain't nobody looking. No land, no acres, no seeds in the ground. When the hunger hits, who's gonna be around? We starving every day, and it just ain't the food. Feeding the hood garbage, got 'em acting a fool. We flossing with rides, stunting with chains, but these bars we spitting just bring more pain. We guilty as hell, preaching all these lies, selling debt to the kids, and we acting surprised. We commercialize the pain, broadcast the grief, tell the youth to hustle, but hide the beef. We glorify the trap, invite them to the flames, just like Reagan brought the crack on planes. Back in the 80s when the streets got soaked, my people, my brothers, all got choked. Reagan said no trades, but we know the deal. He left us in the dirt, man, that shit was real. I was just a shorty watching it unfold, old enough to see how we got sold. War on drugs, but it was war on us. Cops on our necks, no love, no trust. They labeled us thugs, beast on the block, made us kiss the pavement while they cleaned our clock. Prison became business thanks to Reagan's game. Free labor is the truth in America's name. Slavery's dead, man. That's just a word. Read the 13th Amendment, it's still absurd. They lock us in cages, serving time for life. Double digits for wisdom, cutting sharp like a knife. I'm here to say, the chains in the air, it's time we break free, start showing we care. No more flexing for nothing, no more selling out. It's time to rise up. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. You already know how I kick it off, independent music. Here you go with Philly Work, a rally cry. I don't know how to pronounce the name, so I'm not going to say it because I don't want to murder it. But here you go with Philly Work and Rally Cry. And I feel like this song is important right now because we need a revolution. We don't need any more talking. We need action. So here you go with Philly Work, a Rally Cry.
I am a revolutionary. Rasheen Carter, Tyree Nichols, Jaheim McMillan, Charlie McTowns, Takar Smith, Manuel Tortuguita Tehran, Kaneen Anderson, Oscar Sanchez, say their names. India Crager, Breonna Taylor, Ayanna Stanley Jones, say their names. Long live Richard Fisher, long live Walter Wallace Jr., free Mumia, free Kamal, free Leonard, free Imam Jamil, free them all. What the fuck them motherfuckers do in your city? They be putting in work, then they lit like in Philly. They be on that 412, then they lit like in Philly. Are they ready to tear it down? Then they lit like in Philly. Tell motherfuckers do in your city? They be putting in work, then they lit like in Philly. They be on that 412, then they lit like in Philly. Are they running down the walls, then they lit like in Philly? Tell me what the motherfuckers do in your city? Do they fill the bellies up, then they lit like in Philly? Are they riders for the squatters, then they lit like in Philly? They be shitting on the pigs, then they lit like in Philly. Light it up! Hey, light it up! Hey, light it up! Light it up! See them walls of Jericho, make them rubble all around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 10, 11, 12. 9, 10, 11, 12. Fuck 12. If our enemies are there, we ain't doing it right. The motherfuckers should be shook on sight. Get your ass out on these streets and fight. Fist up, get up, say fuck 12. Fist up and say fuck 12. Fuck 12. We can't bow down to these fools. Filling up their cages out of our schools. Shooting rubber bullets at grandmas on their porch. Fuck negotiating, time to light a torch. New York is lit. DC, Baltimore, LA is lit. Atlanta, Minneapolis is lit. Chicago is lit. Louisville, Greenville, Sanford, Cleveland is lit. Detroit is lit. Free 'em all.
Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank God it's Friday. Thank God that it's Friday. I want to get into the first story that I got this morning. And I know it's a big issue in Minneapolis, and I just want to get to the truth. And I think that's where people need to start with it, right? And the first place that I want to go to is Derek Chauvin. And I know that's kind of really caused a division in our communities right now, and not lightly either. It's really put Minnesota in a really bad place when it comes to politics. But last night, I spoke in Minnesota Speaks. You know, I don't usually really speak on spaces or like TikToks and like doing stuff like that. But I feel like now is the time. Like if nobody's gonna save us, who's gonna do it? It's got to be us. So Robert did actually come and speak last night as well, and he usually does. But I felt like the first part right before me was really important because it was talking about not how we met, because it's more about like the rentals and the inspections and things like that, and things that Republicans aren't seeing because they're not in the Twin Cities. So I just want to play that real quick. It's not that long. Okay, here we go.
He doesn't like to talk up, but I'm going to tell you that the big divergence. Now, my last. Thanks very much.
I just said, hey, I can't vote for certain people on.
There you go.
All right, thanks, David. Let's see, Wasp, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say I've been getting a lot of attacks from some GOP folks this week, and I just said, hey, I can't vote for certain people on the ticket. I'll vote for some, but nah, you know what I mean? And some people don't understand. Like, I've tried to get the GOP into places in Minneapolis and Brooklyn Park or Brooklyn Center. I forget where Huntington Place is. I mean, things that I've done for people's constitutional rights. Like, you guys heard about the stuff in Minneapolis where they weren't inspecting. It's the same thing at Huntington Place. You know what I mean? I've gone up there and helped them fight for their rights. There's like 1,000 people there. The GOP won't even show up to talk to these people, man. Like, we've tried for years on some of it, and it's like, no, I can't work with people that are saying things don't exist, man. You know what I mean? And like, I've done a lot to even help out my local BPOU and stuff, but like, the GOP needs to stop treating people like shit. That's the biggest thing. If you look at the DFL daily that they put out and their messaging and like how they're nice to people when they go you talk to them or at the door or whatever else, dude. Like, there's a way to do it, man. Alienating people that, may have been independent, but we're on Team Phil or or Lindell, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, dude, don't alienate people. You know, it's yeah, that's about it. And if people don't know what I'm doing, I'm working on a whole bunch of stuff behind the scenes, trying to tear apart the corruption here in Minnesota. It expands way further than people think, and I'm just bringing it straight to the feds and stuff like that because I don't trust the state. Period. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't think many of us trust the state, but yeah, it's crazy. We appreciate all the work that you're doing, Wasp. Keep us posted, keep us informed. We need guys like you out there. Chaz, go ahead.
Hey, what's up? No, I wanted to talk about the Derek Chauvin thing because I feel like that's caused a big divide in the GOP Republican Party with black people. And I'm gonna say it like this. When we talk about Derek Chauvin, and I know everybody wants to talk about George Floyd this, George Floyd did that, right? But what I want to say is that how many times have black people said that our judicial system was fucked up? But now it's fucked up because of Chauvin? Like, and I understand it, like we have to, I want all the facts out here, you know, and there was a lot that was hidden from that trial. In my Here's the thing of it is, I started in this whole movement thing in 2020 in BLM blinded. I went through my own struggles in it, and I don't blame anybody else because it was my own journey, but I learned a lot and I've seen a lot. And it's just crazy to me of how are we supposed to be united and we can't even get united because of an officer, because of something that black people have talked about for years about Minneapolis Police Department for years, and nobody ever listened. But now that it's Derek Chauvin, that's to me is like what's crazy, because people have been crying out for help, crying out, you know. And that's the one thing for me is because when all the stuff that was going on with George Floyd uh, during Derek Chauvin, you know, I met a lady who was a victim of Derek Chauvin, Zoya Code. Uh, from Zoya, I ended up learning about Jonathan Pope, who was 14 at the time that Derek Chauvin hogtied a little 14-year-old boy. See, and that's part of his federal charges, that he pleaded guilty to that. See, and people don't like to bring that up. And to me, it's like you only bringing up parts of the story and not the whole thing. And to me, I was like, I thought we were in this for truth and transparency.
You know, Chaz, I can't say that I disagree with you because, but nobody in here is saying that Derek Chauvin was a good cop. If anybody thinks that's what I'm saying, or anybody else that has commented on this, that's what we're saying, I don't believe that to be the case. Not saying he was a good cop, but I'm saying he's a citizen of the United States that was railroaded and wrongfully charged, and we can't hold him. It's up to the legal system to hold him accountable for his past indiscretions. But the fact of the matter is what if it was you? What if you're the one that was railroaded by this administration that we have here in Minnesota? The Tim Walz, the Keith Ellisons, you know, I can't remember that crazy dang woman over there in Hennepin County. Huh?
Artie?
Artery, the Adam
Yes.
attorney.
So, and that is my position on it. And I believe that if you go to Alpha News and you watch the fall of Minneapolis, you'll see that that's kind of their position, because it's not just Derek Chauvin that was railroaded in that. There's 3 other police officers that were railroaded in that. But you know, the crazy thing is they're not white. You know, we got a black guy and we got Asian guy, and well, maybe the third. What, two of them are white, one of them black? I don't know. I can't remember. But the fact of the matter is I look at it from a citizen to citizen point of view, and I'm certainly not saying Derek Chauvin was the epitome of a great law enforcement officer. I'm saying he was a citizen that was railroaded by the administration, used as used for the agenda.
Right, and I agree with you. And this is what I want people to know: is like way before George Floyd, people. I met a woman. Her name was Marvina Haynes. She's Marvin Haynes' sister, a brother, or sister. And Marvin Haynes was locked up for 20 years for something he didn't do. 20 years for something that he didn't do. And it's crazy because the DFL, Amy Klobuchar, is the one that locked him up.
Yeah. When you said that name, I'm like, there's a connection to Amy Klobuchar on that. I think I've read that. I have never met these people, but I mean, you're right. And quite honestly, you can look at the prison system in the United States, and it doesn't matter red, yellow, black, white, purple. Doesn't matter who they are. You can find plenty of citizens of this country that have been wrongfully accused and wrongfully imprisoned, and shouldn't be there. You know what I mean? But that's the justice system. While it may be the best in the world, has failed many people in this country.
I just want to say two things, and I'm gonna end my plane, whatever they say on space. Land my plane, I think it is.
I prefer to land my spaceship.
Yeah, land that spaceship. What I want to say though is when it comes to the Derek Chauvin thing, there's a lot of things that me and the GOP, or people that consider themselves Republicans, because I will say like this: was it a sham trial? Yes, it was. We never heard from Derek George Floyd's drug dealer, who was sitting in the passenger seat and who pleaded the fifth, so he couldn't, what do they call that stuff, incriminate themselves while they were, giving testimony. So we never heard about the ambulance, never went to the original spot. We never heard that. Not only did the chief, but Katie Blackwell got up on the stand and perjured themselves, but yet nobody ever wants, not saying that nobody ever wants to talk about that, but there's so much more that Black people and Republicans can actually agree on. But it's like, it's even with like Elon Musk saying free Derek Chauvin, that's not bringing Black people, or even in the inner city, in the Republican Party together. It's only drifting them further apart, because the DFL is going to eat that shit up. They're going to use that shit the best way they can. And there's no way in hell, like, because I can say it like this, even with Lindell and the whole amnesty thing, right? We all know that he said some stupid ass shit on with Esme Murphy and somebody else that he probably didn't even matter in Minnesota, right? But that's how politics plays out. I just want people to know that yes, we might come from the inner city, and yes, we might have different visions or different opinions, but I can say this: there is one thing that I can tell you that we all agree on, and is that I just want to make Minnesota better again. I want to make the streets safer again, and I can guarantee you that everybody in this room, we can all agree on that. So I want to get to really what Elon Musk put out here, because it really, I don't know. I'll say it like this: Elon is a trillionaire, billionaire, wherever the fuck he is, right? He says that Derek Chauvin was unjustly convicted of murder, therefore he should be freed. The facts show he was not the cause of death, nor did he at any time intend for a death to occur. Whatever else he may be, he is not a murderer. That is the truth. I went a little bit further, right? I said, you know how many Black and brown people have been unjustly convicted of crimes they didn't commit, sometimes with zero physical evidence? and based largely on a confidential informant's word. Yet a jury still found them guilty. So, yes, let's talk about injustice. For over 500 years, Black people have been unjustly accused, imprisoned, executed, lynched, and entire communities massacred. History matters, accountability matters. Injustice should mean justice for everybody. And it should. You know, as coming into this movement is because when George Floyd happened, that's what made me want to get involved, right? And I know people are saying different things, and I hate having to do this because it obviously causes division in the Republican Party, right? Or whatever we want to call it, right? Because I don't really consider myself a Republican. I'm a conservative. I'm not MAGA. I'm not any of that other shit, right? I'm a conservative, and I have different beliefs. I have different morals, and I have different values. So one of the things that I don't know who MJ Truth Ultra is. He said, "Did you know George Floyd was alive when he arrived at the hospital?" A court ruling allowed Derek Chauvin to test the heart tissue of George Floyd. So he says something about there's a part in there about Anna. I put it up here. I said George Floyd was unresponsive, had no pulse, and was in cardiac arrest before he was placed in the ambulance. Medical records and courtroom testimony established that. Let's clear up another talking point. The antemortem label on his blood work does not mean he was consciously alive at the hospital. We need to stop misrepresenting medical terminology to push a narrative. Facts matter even when they're inconvenient, because they do. And that's like the whole thing that I've seen about this George Floyd, and Derek Chauvin being pardoned. And it's like, hold on, man. Hold on a minute. Because at the end of the day, I would love for Trump to pardon him so he can come back to Minnesota and do his time, because he comes back to Minnesota, this motherfucker's going to be at him. And that's just the truth. And it's not about everybody's going to think, oh, it's George Floyd, there's other people, man. That's what people don't understand. There's other people. Maybe not the Minnesota so heartedly. That was more about George Floyd, but his federal was about Zoya Code as well, and Jonathan Pope. And that's the big part that I feel like Republicans, GOP, whatever they want to call themselves, because I'm not going to call them conservative anymore. I'm just not. And I think that's why I've separated myself from being a urban conservative than being like these rest of the people, because I just see it's like a big ass game. It doesn't matter if it's Pam Altendorf. It doesn't matter if it's Walter Hudson. It just feels like it's all one big ass fucking game. And it's really not, because people's lives are affected. People might not want to pay attention, but your life is affected. And everything, doesn't matter if it's judicial, doesn't matter if it's education, doesn't matter if it's healthcare, doesn't matter if it's public safety. It all turns around to one thing: politics. It didn't used to never be like that, but now it is. Everything comes down to politics. And it shouldn't. Education should be about education. We shouldn't be trying to, this is the one thing that I can't really figure out, is even when we talk about races, right? I watched a documentary yesterday, and Reverend Tim Christopher put it out there. It was Lay Down My Burden. And I watched that. I was like, damn. Because what people really, they didn't want to be integrated. They didn't really care about that. They wanted wealth, because they had literally had nothing. And then, the government wants to give a big ass token. That's not what they wanted. They wanted power. They wanted to be control their own story for the future and their children's, because I saw one thing that really made me sad in it, is that like they were talking to farm families in Mississippi, and they had 7 kids, and they lived in a 2-room shack that the guy built, but they rented the land Everything was leased. It was leased. Even when it came to buying their farm equipment or even seed, the plant, a lot of them were doing that on favor. I shouldn't even say a favor because they were renting it. Whatever kind of they got back, or they got into like a loan, or they always had to pay the person back. Is that, and everybody talks about, oh, well, we had this. No, we weren't. There was a lot of sharecroppers that actually, even when they said in the documentary, is that farming was kind of weird because some years you wouldn't even come even, you would lose money. And then some years, depending on the weather, you would do good, but you still wouldn't come out like rich. You would just be coming up barely enough to take care of your family. And I think that's the part that people don't see. I don't know. I wanted to play this, but now I'm kind of like, I'm kind of really sick of the whole Derek Chauvin thing because I feel like we have bigger issues in Minnesota to be dealing with. And I feel like they put this out here for a reason. Not saying that he doesn't deserve his due process, but I just want to say that both the Minnesota Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court of the United States of America has both did not want to look at this case. Did not want to look at this case. So you can take it how you want to take it. I'll just say it like this: until we honestly get everybody that's in prison who is wrongfully convicted, who does not deserve to be there, I don't want to hear conversations about free Derek. You know what I'm saying? When, to be honest, he's there for a reason. He's there for a reason. And I know people are going to feel all I shouldn't say butthurt, but the truth is the truth, and if we can't sit here and have a conversation about what is going on, doesn't matter if it comes down to gun violence, matter if it comes down to our education, because even this kind of like bugged me a little bit. I ain't never see them do this. When Big U was here back in the 80s, I've never seen this do this to Sharif Willis. Never see that do it to some other big time drug dealers in Minneapolis or even in Minnesota. But all of a sudden we did it to the Somali gangs. Somali gangs. But where did they get that gang shit from? They got it from being in America. And this is how Americans, I shouldn't even say Americans, because it's more of a inner city thing where we're territorial. And we're territorial for a reason when it comes to drugs, guns, when it comes to trafficking women. I've learned my lesson. I've matured since then and realized that even though I was feel like I was taking care of my family, I was still being a problem in my neighborhood, in my community. I was still getting people hooked on drugs. And it shouldn't have been like that. And now I know better. Now I can tell the difference of I don't have to go down that road where it's going to affect my life for a very long, long time when I can just do it legally. Because there's enough people right now. You know what's crazy is we have people out in the streets who are part of gangs, doesn't matter if it's Bloods, Crips, and we yet still have the biggest gangs in America. You know what I'm going to tell you? Police departments, Democrats, Republicans, because there's no difference between them, GDs, Vice Lords, Bloods, Crips, Trays, whatever they want to call themselves, highs, lows. We're all they just look at us differently because they rock a color. They rock just like how GDs rock the 6. DFL has a elephant, I think, and the GOP, I forget what their animal is. So we all have, what's different? Y'all say the shit that y'all do is to better America when it's actually, when you look at the policies or you look at the work around it and you see that it's all just bullshit. It's all just bullshit. And the crazy thing, rent is a very hard thing here in Minnesota. But yet they only put up the minimum wage up to $11.85. Come on, we can't be serious. Come on, man. That's For the kids. That should be for what teenagers make right now. That shouldn't be anywhere. I'm not saying that anybody pays it, but I know adults in southern Minnesota who make still $13.50 or $14 an hour, and have kids and responsibilities, and they're forced to work another job so they can make sure that they're paying all their bills. Because I can tell you right now, you know what's crazy? Even though the minimum wage is very low, you can't get food stamps because they make too much money. Now, ain't that crazy? They make too much money. Even though it's crumbs, they still make too much money to qualify for food stamps. Even though they you know what's crazy is, I think a lot of people will look at this and think, oh, well, they just want handouts. It's not handouts. Listen, I want people to think about this, right? So let's say I'm a Casey's worker, right? It's 2026. They're paying about usually between 14 and I think it's like somewhere 13.50 and like 14.50. How are you going to pay that $1,200 in rent a month? You got 2 kids and you make only about $14 an hour. And you got to work another job just so that you can be able to put food on the table, because the county or even the president is telling you that you make too much money for a program that was built to help people so that we don't go into times of struggles, which most of America is. And I think that's crazy. And I think people need to wake up. I think they need to pay attention, because all these things, like with the flock cameras, even with the like transgender shit and all this other with the 2030 and 2040, with all this building construction, you're seeing small businesses close. People are talking about there's too much street construction. Well, I just want to say this didn't happen overnight. None of this happened overnight. It took years. And now you're just seeing it. I guess you can just see the fruition of it. Back in the day, it was just jumble because it was all just talk. But now it's action. And now residents are starting to notice, of like, hey, hold up. Why is all this shit going on? Then this is the DMC. So this is what, well, if you were to go look at the plans of the DMC, because it's out there, it's public information, you would see that there's a lot more street construction and other things are going to be closing. So, I don't want to hear people go on KTTC or Post Bulletin or KMT or KAL and be like, boo-hoo, boo-hoo. Listen, you motherfuckers should have been paying attention. And because you weren't, it's belt to ass. It's belt to ass. And we're supposed to feel sorry for them type of people. But that's what America has done. They talk shit about people on food stamps. Let's talk about how many times the government has bailed out the billionaires. Auto, airport. Come on. Y'all don't even see this shit. They talk shit about the poor needing help, but then when the rich get help, motherfuckers don't say shit. That's because it's coming to them. See, you motherfuckers just don't get it. It's just one big ass orgy. And y'all here's the thing of it is, man, a lot of people don't want to be involved in that orgy that Democrats and Republicans got going on, because there's a lot of shit that goes on at the Minnesota State Capitol. You have legislators cheating on their wives. You have, that's just like promiscuous marriage. How many other Republicans had affairs? How many smoke weed at the state capitol? No, it's legal now. How many get drunk while they're up here legislating? But then they get mad at us for doing the same shit they're doing. Make it make sense. So here I want to get into, to me, I think this is all mumbo jumbo. Like I said, preventing gang activity at a state fair. You can't prevent it. Just because you put people's names, that doesn't mean that So what? We banned 7 people from the state fair. There's still a whole nother 3, 4, 500 that you didn't ban. So what are you really doing? You're fear mongering people. You're fear mongering people because you think those 7 people from Muddy or whatever the fuck their names are, whatever that shit is, you scare people from coming to the state fair. So you think that you pull this political stunt and this is going to prevent all gang activity. Shut though. Keith Ellison, that's why I can't stand this old little midget motherfucker, man. Him, even John Choi. Both of them are some cowards and some pussies.
Not going to allow violent activity to endanger the safety of fairgoers. We will protect people's right to have a good time.
Well, the Minnesota State Fair, it starts a week from today, and we have state and county prosecutors who are taking action now to stop alleged gang members from showing up and causing trouble.
Our Mike Manzoni is live outside the fairgrounds tonight. And Mike, this all started after posts on social media.
Yeah, prosecutors say several social media posts that were posted recently showed that indicated that 2 rival gangs planned some sort of violent confrontation at the state fair. We're talking about the Ville and Muddy gangs here. Prosecutors say a Ville affiliate shot 3 people outside the fair 2 years ago. 7 alleged gang members have now agreed not to even show up. 3 others have agreed not to cause any problems if they do wind up attending. If any of them violate the court orders here, police will arrest them on the spot. Prosecutors say the idea is to stop violence before it happens.
This outcome is better than we imagined because there's 7 of them that are saying that they're not going to come into that safety zone for that very, very limited time period. Well, if the protocol was followed, somebody thought that maybe this person could be that person, and then there's a positive identification by the gang expert, then there would be probable cause to arrest them.
Now, if the alleged gang members don't violate the court orders here, the prosecutors say they will go ahead and dismiss the civil lawsuits against them. We're live outside the fairgrounds tonight. Mike Manzoni.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. That is kind of crazy. Yeah, I gotta ask, what the fuck are we doing sometimes? Like, what are we doing in Minnesota? Like, we've never done this for any other type of gangs. So why are we doing it now? I don't get it. I really don't get it. So before I go into what
On May 3rd,
I want to play something, right? I know a lot of people aren't gonna maybe remember it, or but they should. And if people don't remember the move bombing from 1985 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, so I was about 8 when this happened. No bigger than I was 8. I think I was like 8 years old. Yeah, I was 8. No, 7. This happened on my 7th birthday. So more about the move bombing is my dad, right? So grew up in Philly. That's where he's from. Where this happened at was not too far from where family members lived. And of course, they have people who still remember the move bombing because there isn't many, or at least they're not very vocal about it because it was a scary experience. But for all the people are saying that, you know, why Black people shouldn't be mad or we shouldn't get reparations, let's just say it like this. Have your families ever been through a situation where the government, the local police sit here and let a whole neighborhood just burn? So I want to play, it's about 9 minutes long, but I want to get into the 1985 move bombing.
Police dropped a bomb on a row house in West Philadelphia. The house stood in a predominantly Black middle-class neighborhood. Inside were members of MOVE, including children. The explosion started a fire. 2 city officials agreed to let it burn long enough to destroy a rooftop bunker. But the fire escaped control and spread through the connected homes. By the end, 6 adults and 5 children were dead. 61 houses were destroyed. Roughly 250 residents were displaced. This was not an act of war overseas. It was a decision made by an American city against one occupied house, with consequences for an entire neighborhood. MOVE emerged in Philadelphia in the early 1970s. Its central figure was John Africa, born Vincent Leaphart. Members took the surname Africa and pursued a communal back-to-nature life. They defended animal rights, opposed police brutality, and rejected modern industrial society. MOVE also had a long, bitter relationship with neighbors and city authorities. Neighbors complained about amplified speeches, confrontational behavior, animals, sanitation, and conditions at MOVE properties. Those complaints were real. So was the government's responsibility to enforce the law without creating a catastrophe. The conflict had already turned deadly in 1978, when police moved against MOVE's Powelton Village compound. Officer James Ramp was shot and killed, and others were injured. 9 MOVE members were convicted of third-degree murder and received long prison terms. MOVE maintained that police fire killed Ramp, and historical accounts still describe the fatal shot as disputed. That history shaped what followed. In 1982, MOVE members settled at 6221 Osage Avenue in Cobbs Creek. The attached row house eventually had fortified interior walls and a wooden structure on the roof, commonly called a bunker. Neighbors repeatedly complained about loudspeaker broadcasts and conditions at the house. By May 1985, officials had arrest warrants for several MOVE members and a search warrant for the property. Mayor W. Wilson Goode, Philadelphia's first black mayor, authorized the tactical plan. Residents nearby were evacuated. At about 5:30 on the morning of May 13th, Police Commissioner Gregor Sambor announced that the occupants had 15 minutes to leave and surrender. Water and electricity had been shut off. Approximately 500 officers participated or were present. Police tried water cannons, tear gas, and explosives placed through adjoining walls. Official records say intermittent gunfire came from the MOVE house. Police responded with more than 10,000 rounds in about 90 minutes. Still, the occupants did not surrender. Officials said the rooftop bunker prevented them from inserting more tear gas. By late afternoon, they proposed destroying it from the air. Mayor Goode approved the use of explosives against the bunker. At 5:27 p.m., a police helicopter dropped a satchel containing Tovex and C4 onto the roof. The bomb exploded and ignited a fire. Then came a separate decision. Police Commissioner Sambor and Fire Commissioner William Richmond agreed to let the fire burn long enough to neutralize the bunker. They believed it could be controlled. Goode later testified that, although he approved the explosive, he did not authorize using the fire as a tactic. The fire was not controlled. It moved through the attached row houses of Osage Avenue and Pine Street. Only 2 people escaped alive, Ramona Africa and 13-year-old Birdie Africa, later known as Michael Moses Ward. The survivors said police gunfire forced people trying to escape back toward the burning house. That claim remains disputed. What is certain is that Ramona and Birdie were the only survivors. Ramona was arrested. She was later convicted of riot and conspiracy and served 7 years. Birdie was placed with his father. Around them, a neighborhood burned. Families who had obeyed evacuation orders lost their houses and possessions. The disaster did not end when the flames went out. Mayor Goode appointed a special commission to investigate. In 1986, it called dropping the bomb on an occupied row house unconscionable. It described police tactics as grossly negligent, condemned the failure of command and planning, and found that allowing the fire to burn was unjustified. A county grand jury declined to indict anyone for the bombing. No one was ever criminally charged for it. Civil accountability came later. In 1996, a federal jury found the city liable on civil rights claims brought by Ramona Africa and the estates of John Africa and Frank Africa. It awarded $500,000 to each plaintiff, for $1.5 million total. The jury also made findings against Sambor and Richmond under state law, but the court ultimately protected the commissioners from personal liability through official immunity. The city also promised to rebuild the neighborhood. The new houses did not open until the summer of 1986, after delays. Serious problems appeared almost immediately. Leaks, rot, cracks, sagging beams, and other structural defects. In 2000, the city offered homeowners $150,000 each. 36 families accepted, while others continued fighting over the properties. Then, decades after the bombing, another failure became public. Remains associated with one MOVE victim had been retained for identification work. Portions of a pelvis and femur, known as B1, were held principally at the Penn Museum, taken to Princeton on a limited number of occasions, and used once in a graduate class. They also appeared in an online instructional video. Investigators could not determine with certainty which victim they belonged to. Affected relatives and the medical examiner's office were not consulted before the remains were used for teaching. A 2022 investigation commissioned by the city documented inconsistent labels, poor inventories, broken chains of custody, and inadequate communication with families. It recommended changing the official manner of death for all 11 victims from accident to homicide. In death certification, homicide means death caused by an act of another person. It does not, by itself, establish criminal intent or criminal guilt. Philadelphia City Council had formally apologized in 2020 and designated May 13th as a day of observation and reflection. But an apology could not return the dead, restore what families lost, or undo decades of institutional failure. The history of MOVE cannot be reduced to innocent residents facing blameless officials. MOVE's conduct generated legitimate fear and anger among neighbors. A police officer had died in the earlier confrontation. City authorities faced a difficult and dangerous situation. But that is precisely when government power matters most. The city had obligations to the people inside the house, to the officers outside it, and to every family on the block. Instead, officials dropped an explosive on an occupied row house and allowed the resulting fire to burn. 11 people died. 61 homes disappeared. And for decades, the consequences continued. In courtrooms, in defective houses, and in the mishandling of the dead. The question left by Osage Avenue is not whether MOVE was popular or easy to defend. It is what limits remain on public power when the people facing it are feared, isolated, and widely condemned. Like and subscribe for more overlooked stories.
So that brings me into Holloman versus Cisneros. And I know a lot of people, you don't know about this. And I'm not saying that in any kind of bad way. It's probably just meant that way. But I want to talk about the Holloman lawsuit because one thing that is talked about today is Heritage Park. But you can't talk about Heritage Park without talking about why it even got there. And part of the reason was back on July 27, 1992, 14 minority families in the NAACP filed this class action lawsuit in the U.S. District Court for the District of Minnesota under the Fair Housing Act, 42 U.S.C. 3601 against the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, the Minneapolis Public Housing Authority, the Minneapolis Community Development Agency, and the City of Minneapolis. The plaintiffs represented by the Legal Aid Society of Minneapolis, sought injunctive relief, claiming that the defendant's administration of Minneapolis public housing programs created and perpetuated racial segregation. Specifically, for the plaintiffs alleged that the public housing in Minneapolis was located, built, and operated under a long-standing policy of de jure racial segregation dating back to the 1930s. And the defendants failed to remedy this segregation. For a detailed account of the origins of this suit and the history of Minneapolis public housing policy, there's something else from, I guess, another paper or something. On July 5th, 1994, the district court judge, James Rosenbaum, certified a class of all minority households participating in or on the wait list for public housing and Section 8 voucher programs. 3 years into this case, and after 2 years of negotiations and extensive public hearings, the parties settled the lawsuit by signing a consent decree. The decree's terms are encompassed in an order entered by the district court on April 20th, 1995. The agreement's stated purpose was to set out a series of actions to be taken by defendants, which all promote equal housing opportunity, expand and maximize geographic choice in assisted housing, and encourage racial integration by deconcentrating racially concentrated public housing projects, improving living conditions in remaining family public housing units, relocating public housing units to areas outside of minority concentrations, improving administration of the Section 8 existing housing program so as to remove barriers to effective choice, expanding access to application opportunities for assisted housing, developing means to encourage expansion of low-income housing opportunities in suburban cities and the metropolitan area, and ensuring defendants remain committed to preserving and expanding location choice and goals of fair housing. See, this is the part that I feel like that needs to be brought back up, is ensuring the defendants, let's go to who the defendants were, right? Because it was the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, the Minneapolis Public Housing, the Minneapolis Community Development Agency in the city of Minneapolis. Because just a couple of days ago, it just came out that they haven't done 30 years of rental inspections in the Minneapolis Public Housing Authority. This is part of this is what made me and Robert get closer together is the rental stuff. I was doing Red Wing because I had some issues with some people that I knew, and they were being treated bogus by the city of Red Wing. And it was really foul that people didn't want to talk about it, and that was the one thing this is all the way back in 2021. Finding a place to live in Red Wing is tough for low-income renters. That's Teresa. This was the house. So I have pictures, and there was people living in this property, and it wasn't even livable, but she was making sure that it was as clean and as livable as that she could make it. But the landlords were not. And this is part of the reason that I got into making sure that the little people were being heard, because they weren't. And they want everything around it of trying not to give this lady help. And that's why I had to go into making sure. So me and Robert called Red Wing. We used this house. And basically, the video is still out here. I got to go find it. I don't even know what I did with it, actually. But just to say that as long as you got money to pay, they were willing to play. As long as you could pay, they were willing to play. And that's not the way that our systems were built. Our systems were built to protect people, right? Protect the person that isn't rich, to protect the person that doesn't have a lot of money. But that's not what we do, right? The consent decree contemplated a term of 7 years to accomplish these goals, during which the district court retained jurisdiction. So what I don't understand is, like, if the consent decree went on for 7 years, so that's probably about 2002. So that's 20 something years ago. That's not the 30. So you mean you were doing this? The consent decree was here and you guys were still not doing housing inspections in Minnesota public housing, because they made sure to do it to all the other people, but not when it came to the city or when it came to Minneapolis public housing. And there's a lot. You look at Cedar Riverside. I mean, if they weren't doing housing inspections for years, for 30, we can only imagine what Cedar Riverside looks like. Can only imagine what that looks like. Because nobody has really, I don't think, I mean, Ashley's delivered a couple packages there, when, for Amazon or whatever, but I haven't really been in there since the 90s. And I mean, I've heard stories there's security in there, the elevators don't work, they got to walk up the stairs. And I mean, this is like a 60-foot fucking floor building. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if they're not looking, like, we have issues in Minnesota, bad ones. And it feels like nobody wants to talk about it. And that's the crazy thing. For several years, the parties operated under the terms of the decree with little involvement by the court. I think that's a problem. Because they weren't making sure, the courts were not making sure that the defendants, when I talk about the defendants, I'm talking about the city of Minneapolis, I'm talking about Minneapolis Public Housing Authority. And the crazy thing is, where I have a big ass issue with this, and even it goes back to Ron Edwards did a lot on the Holloman and the consent decree. But come to find out that they were supposed to do so many units inside of the city, and it, like, for the units they put in, it would average like $19 million per. It's like, what? So where'd all the money go? There was a lot of people finger fucking that money. Nobody asked. I mean, people were asking, but the people in leadership weren't trying to answer questions. 2006, the case was open. So ordered the case to be closed on November 2004, allowing petitions to reopen the case until 26. So, I mean, we have to see the bigger picture here, right? Because it's not anything that has really literally happened here in Minnesota. This didn't happen overnight. Didn't even happen. I know a lot of people talk about the trifecta. When it comes to the fraud, the programs are already here. There was already fraud going on. You know what the bad part was? There was no oversight. Or there was, they just weren't doing it. So the Somalis took advantage. And it wasn't just the Somalis, because there was black churches, nonprofits that were taking advantage. And because the Somalis got greedy is the only reason why a lot of this shit even came out, if I'm going to be honest. Because I feel like if it was, when it was Lisa, just them, nobody really wanted to pay attention to it. Even though there was stories about her brother stuttering ass, or, there was other shit, people didn't really care. But now that the media came out with it, they're like, oh, there's a reason I talk the shit that I do talk, and why I don't get no cease and desist. I've already been through the whole cease and desist shit. The HROs, listen, as long as it's the truth and nothing but the truth, that's not defamation. If it's on the internet and I find it because, or Robert has found it because it's in archived information. Oh, you was hoping that shit wouldn't get out, but it did. There's so much that we can get information, but people aren't doing the research. They're not looking at it. They're just looking at because they want to band-aid the problem. They don't want to correct it. They just want to put a band-aid on it. And that's the whole reason Minneapolis is in the condition that it's in. Because every time something happened, they wanted to just band-aid it, not correct it, but just put a band-aid. And that's why we're at. I mean, it comes a time that we just got to be accountable. We have to be truthful to ourselves and be like, hey, we were part of the problem. That's not, and that's not even really saying anything bad. That's just like, hey, we weren't paying attention, but hey, now it is. It's time to pay attention because too much has gone on out of our control. They want to call it progress, but is that really progress? Is that really progress? Is that progress? Is the things that they say, is that progress? I don't think that is. I definitely don't think that a man can become a woman is progressive. That's too much. And we have to write laws about that shit. We have to write laws about, like I just seen something that was in the library the other day. And it's like, I know people like, well, what do you see wrong with that? We didn't have that kind of shit in the library growing up. So is that progress? No, I think we have a generation of kids that don't know the difference, that don't know right from wrong. Because we're seeing it in real time. We're seeing a generation where their parents, when it comes really to the Black community, the father was locked up, was somebody that had drug, crackhead uncle, drunk ass aunt, and then that carried on. It carried on to the kids, the grandkids. So how can we expect better when people are doing the same ass things over and over again? That's not progress. That's people ignoring a bigger problem because they don't want to feel uncomfortable. If you're too scared of the kitchen, get your ass up out of there. I even say that for the Republicans because I get so tired. Well, we didn't have no power. So you're just going to stand there and just scratch your ass while all this bullshit going on. You can do all the sound bites you want. But what else are you going to do? Because I don't see that. And here's the thing of it is, I know people want to do that outreach in North Minneapolis now. It's too late. Too late. Them niggas ain't going to trust you because they only know you're coming around because it's election season. Y'all should have been doing this shit from 22 to now, but they weren't because they were too scared. Even when it came down to Pam Altendorf and Walter Hudson, because here's the thing of it is, and I don't even talk about it now because I don't really care about burning bridges or the Republic, because to me they're not any different than the DFL, and I mean that. I mean, sure, there's good ones. I think like Mike Weiner or Drew Roach, Elliot Engen. I really like Elliot. I know a lot of people because of all the shit he's been in, but I really do like Elliot. I just hate that he's with the whole Walter Hudson shit because I feel like he's being steered the wrong way, and he doesn't want to admit to that, but he knows that he is. But I went to Republicans in 2022. There was other people. Robert, this is why he says he doesn't want to go to the state. He just wants to go federal because the state doesn't. Everybody says go to Republicans. For what? For what? We had a bunch of sound bites from the fraud committee for the last 2 years. No convictions, no real accountability other than the white lady, Amy Bach. But all the Somalians got off with a slap on the motherfucking wrist. Stop it. Stop it. Why are we getting this? It's crazy to me because you see all this shit in Hennepin County. Even when it came to Keith Ellison saying that he's done what he's clawed back $90 million. How much of that money have they actually got back? I think it was about 3 million. Stop pump faking, nigga. Stop gaslighting us. Tell us the motherfucking truth. But y'all want to, I'm going to bring up this post, or not post, this saying, this quote, motto, whatever, right? So the guy yesterday put on one of the comments that that's why white liberal women were the worst. And I was like, wait, what? Well, you're talking to a conservative, who I consider a conservative, and Malcolm X told that his motto was that the liberal white woman was the greatest threat to Black America. And to be honest, he's not even a Black American. I think the generation, it's just started with here, America with him. Even with the same thing with Marcus Garvey. So when I see people like Vic Mensa or Byron Donalds, Kamala Harris, they're not Blacks. Just because y'all want to call them Black, that's not Black to me. They got Jamaican or Panamanian or Indian or all other kind of shit. Ain't no Black American involved at all in it. Maybe from their mama. That's it. And that's the white side. That's the white side. So I really don't get it. Like, what are we really standing for? Like, this the reason why I don't have a lot of friends, because niggas want to be buddy. I ain't got time for that shit. I didn't come here to make friends. I came here to make change. So that's why I get a lot of the shit I get into and call people out is because everybody else don't want to. They rather be buddy with them. I don't want to be their fucking friend. I don't want to be their friend. I didn't join this movement, get in this, or even start paying attention for friends. Because I already had that. Listen, these people showed me between 2020 and 2023, they didn't give a fuck. Democrats and Republicans, BLM, NAACP, because when it all came down to it, it depended on what kind of Black you were, of this help you would receive. And then it came down to colorism, ageism, all the other shit that y'all don't want to talk about. And that's why we have these problems. It's because too many people think that it just started overnight. And it didn't. It didn't. It's time that we be honest with ourselves. It's time that we be honest. I don't get that shit. Like, for real. I just don't get it. Everybody want to be buddy. Man, fuck being buddy. Being buddy don't pay the bills. And being truthful. Because all these motherfuckers got something hidden in their closet that they don't want to talk about. All of them do. It doesn't matter if it's Eliza Darris. Doesn't matter if it's Michelle Gross. Doesn't matter if it's Nakima, her husband Marquise, Jesse Smith, the Georgia Ford. Can't forget the crackhead nigga name, Cruz from St. Paul. Man, how we expect any change when all these motherfuckers been doing the same ass shit for years and we ain't got shit but a bunch of narratives and a bunch of lies that we're trying to clean up. We're trying to clean up their bullshit. And because they don't want to face accountability, that's why first of all, we don't have no unity, because they don't want to look in the mirror and say like, hey, I was a part of the problem. And now it's time for me to be part of that solution. So, and I know people are like, well, you can't be talking about my pastor. Your pastor's a dick sucker. Their story, listen, man, y'all, this is how I know people don't want to do their homework, right? Or even do their research. Because I always get this when I talk about Clarence Hightower. He's a dick sucker. And then people try to bring up Brian Harris. He's a scammer. Same thing with Jerry McAfee, scammer. Doesn't matter if it's Shiloh Temple, scammer. All for the DFL plantation. It's crazy how people, Minneapolis, don't listen. Even here's the crazy thing, right? Because I know a lot of people are like, let me see if I can find it, because I want y'all to see. I'm gonna go right to Lou's page, because he did a report, I think it was yesterday, on a guy that was in the Lowe's. Yeah, so here it is. So I did.
Deal negotiated by.
So the name turnip seed, that brings weight to Minnesota, to Minneapolis. That brings weight to Minneapolis. And the problem is, not a lot of people remember or even know about that shit. They forget. And see, here's the thing, the guy that I think it's either his grandpa or, listen, it's all gang banging. Here's the thing of it is, these were part of the Lowe's. Maybe I'm off a little bit, but the turnip seeds have a real big history in Minneapolis.
2 families of murder victims are upset with a plea deal negotiated by Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty's office that combined the 2 unrelated cases into one prison sentence for the killer. 24-year-old Marquez Hill Turnipseed admits he killed innocent bystander Stagiana Whiting, a young mother, in that big shootout on Boom Island last summer, described as a war zone where 130 rounds were fired from 5 guns. Hill Turnipseed also admits that 3 years earlier, he murdered 23-year-old Elo Lomax in a drive-by shooting in North Minneapolis. Even though Hill Turnipseed gave a full confession for both murders, Moriarty's office opted not to charge him with first-degree murder and instead offered concurrent sentences. That means they'll run at the same time, a total of 40 years in prison for second-degree murder. The families talked to me afterwards.
They was 2 different people. They should have been tried on 2 different cases, not put together. He did them at 2 different times. Like,
right.
No.
He murdered my son first, and it should have been time for Elo's murder and then the young ladies, and it shouldn't have been joined together.
No.
He ruined 2 families.
Right.
How can you combine 2 lives together? This child had a whole life over here, and this child had a whole life over here. So this family is grieving differently. They lost so much over there with their son, like the only son, maybe sisters, siblings, and everything they lost. We lost. This baby has to grow up without a mother.
Right.
Hill Turnipseed will serve 2/3 of that 40 years. He'll be released in less than 27 years when he's 50. I'm Lou Ragoose.
So I want to show you something about turnip seed, right? Because not enough people talk about it. Turnip seed is really a big name in Minneapolis. John Turnipseed, just like Sharif, is a former gang leader. I shouldn't even say former because the shit ain't former. They call it a former gang leader, pimp, and drug dealer who spent his childhood battling demons brought on by a volatile, abusive father. In a 20-year journey, John Turnipseed has transformed into a community leader, pastor, speaker, and serves as director of the Center for Fathering and vice president of Urban Ventures, a 21-year-old nonprofit set in the heart of the same Minneapolis gang territory that John and his family terrorized. It's that they still terrorize. This is the thing I forget. We push up these leaders. Same thing with Sharif, same, rest in peace. Same thing with Jerry McAfee. We call them pastors. Even when it comes to Spike Moss, these people have been bought and paid for. They're no better than puppets at this point. No better than puppets. So I can tell you like right now is that turnip seed. If you look into Mary Mortary's relationship or any kind of connections with John Turnipseed, and you'll see the bigger picture. You got to make sense after like you motherfuckers this shows you that Minneapolis does not do their homework and that they don't even care. Like they don't even care. They don't even care. So that's why I seem like fuck them people. Because this is the same thing with, doesn't matter if it's Clarence Hightower, doesn't matter if it's Jerry McAfee, them niggas is crooks. Crooks. Hightower is a dick sucker. He used to suck Major Top's dick, another pastor. That's the, yeah, you motherfuckers be weird to me. That's why I can see why Republicans don't want to go on, because it is weird. But it's definitely something that we need to have a conversation about, because it's just getting weird. It's just getting weird, and it feels like people don't want to look at the bigger picture. They don't want to see it for what it really is, and it's all like bullshit. Everything doesn't matter if it's your favorite pastor, because your favorite pastor is probably a dick sucker. And I know people are gonna end up blocking me. I don't. At this point, I don't. Like I said, I didn't come here for friends. I didn't come here for friends. Sure the fuck didn't come here for friends. Because I ain't never been friends with y'all no motherfucking way. So why wouldn't I do the shit that I'm doing? Because I'm not here to make friends. Nobody should be. Because that shit comes. There's no loyalty in that shit. You're only good to them or how long they can use you. Because when you start telling the truth, yeah, look at the old BLM dude, Rashad Turner, and look at his old Fox News, and there's a whole bunch of things of him putting BLM out there, and now he do the same shit. Yeah, because that's how it goes. Every leader, here's the thing of it is, everybody that I've seen come out with some shit is always bought. It's the people who they know they can't take control over, have power over, because I turned down money plenty of times. I turned down 20,000 from Jerry to be quiet. I turned down 10,000 from Red Wing, from the government. Like, no, I'm not going to sell my people out, because if I can't take them, like, I'm not going. If I can't take the people, because that's what it really came down to, was me, like, I got to be quiet about this, I got to be quiet about that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I don't care. You can demonize me all you want, because you know what? Doesn't matter what part of my past you want to talk about. I already talk about it. I already talk about it. So doesn't matter if it's my juvenile years, doesn't matter if it's my sex offense, doesn't matter if it's my failure to registers, doesn't matter if it's my what they want to call a robbery, which wasn't. Like, yeah, I've done bad shit, but the shit that I've never been, my robberies, I'm only talking about that shit now because they can't charge me. It's been past 7 years. We have statute of limitations. And again, there's not enough people that know their rights either. I had to go read. I had to go to the law library. I had to look at city charters. I had to read my own motherfucking lawyer. So I had to read. This one I went to court every time in Red Wing. I went me myself. Even when I had against the police chief and his wife for the HRO. Motherfuckers tried to send me a cease and desist while I was at a march during my BLM days. Man, fuck that. You know why I won that? Because when you go in there and you preach the truth, when you speak the truth, there ain't they can say any motherfucking thing that they want to say, right? Because as long as they're a public official, there's a different set of rules for them. Especially when it comes to posting addresses. Because a lot of these motherfuckers already knew their addresses. Same thing with Minneapolis, the leaders. I know their addresses. So if I really had a problem, I would just pull up. But that's not that Chaz anymore. And that's not the Chaz y'all want to see. But that is the Chaz that's still going to be here. There ain't no sugar in this tank. There's no pussy in me. I'm not the baddest nigga. I'm not the toughest. But I understand that we all believe the same. And the only man that I fear is God. I don't fear no man on earth. No man walking above us, because doesn't matter how big they are. Doesn't matter how buff they are, because the bigger you are, the smaller they fall. the easier they fall. The bigger they are, the easier they fall. So, and I'll say it again to anybody that's out here that wants to come out with information that you know, but are scared because of retaliation. There's people out here. We don't have a lot of money, but we will fight for you. We will make sure that your truth gets heard. That your truth gets heard. Because there's a lot of people that don't care. Unless there's some money involved, that's the only time they ever care. I don't know what else to say. It's just really sad to me, like how Minnesota politics is and how people are, and that they don't want to come to a understanding. It's either our way or no way, and that's on both sides. But when it comes down to it, both sides are the same party. We have a purple party here in Minnesota. We have Democrats and Republicans. They're not separate. Same thing. It's the same. I ain't got no quarter up here right now, but it's basically the same shit. Just flip it, heads or tails. But you still get the same ass shit. Still the same old person. So it's gonna be a long week, or the week's over with. Never mind that. Tomorrow is Jake Lang will be in Minneapolis. I know Jacob Fraze came out and said some shit. I know some other people. Just have your head on the swivel. I see a lot of shit with the, foods being recalled, and have your head on the swivel. And what I mean by that is look at what you're eating. If it's some shit got a thing on there from like a pill, and that's Bill Gates, you do not want no genetically modified shit. If it says it's seedless, that's a GMO. Because what the fuck grows without a seed? What grows without a seed? That's what I would really like to know. So even the meats, you got to look at your meat. I mean, the safest you can do is go to a butcher, but if you're going to Walmart or you're going to, all these, because I do see that they're going to bring some beef in to lower the prices, because it is kind of high right now. But to lower the prices, my question, and everybody's question should be, is that beef? Or is it genetically modified? Or is it lab chicken? Or is it lab beef? Because now they got lab eggs, lab milk. So be careful of what you put into your body, because it catches up to you at some time, and there is consequences to it. You might not see it right away, but there is consequences to them actions, because everything, whatever you put out into the air, comes back. It's karma. So I won't be back Monday. I gotta go get a test on Monday. I gotta wear some kind of Holter device. How they hook up the ECG shit or whatever. I don't know. So I gotta go get that Monday. I don't think it's on. I'm gonna have that on for like 1 or 2 days or whatever. But I will try to go live tomorrow just because of the Jake Lang shit. So y'all have a great one. Have a great Friday, and be blessed, man. Give grace to God for waking you up this morning, for giving you another day and another chance to be great. So with that being said, I'm Chaz Neal, aka the Urban Conservative, and I will see y'all when I see y'all, man. And have a great one. This is Bryson Gray, like Christ. Y'all have a good one. Deuces.
Goodwill. Everybody say they Christ-like, but do you really know what Christ-like? Our example is Christ, right? He duped the Pharisees and he gave the blind eyesight. Do you really know what Christ-like? Do you know? Do you know? Do you really know what Christ-like? Do you know? Do you know? Do you really know? Why did Jesus get hated? Hey, do these people read? He got hated because he was calling out evil deeds. John 7 verse 7, ain't this guy breathe? Ooh, the scripture go come out and make a demon bleed. Ooh, are you out there know what Jesus teach? If not, your house is built on sand, this ain't no easy street. If you wanna get in the field, you gon' need your cleats. Cause he coming to bring division, he ain't bringing peace. I don't know what Jesus y'all was into. My Yeshua through the money changes out of temple. If the scripture don't work, how else can I convince you? I ain't trying to offend you, I'm just trying to show you what Christ like. But do you really know what Christ like? Our Our example is Christ, right? Rebuked the Pharisees and he gave the blind eyesight. Do you really know what Christ like?